Hello and welcome to UFPTC. My name is NapalmF, and today we're going to be talking about TCP versus UDP. So basically, there's two types of ports on a computer. So I mentioned that ports are a split up of your internet connection into smaller portions that an application could bind to. Well, there's two types of ports. There's TCP and UDP, and they're both completely separate from each other. So TCP is like port 80, like web services, HTTP, FTP, Telnet. All of those are TCP services. And what a TCP service is it has that handshake, that three-way handshake is what makes it a TCP service. Basically, if the port is open, you get back a SYN ACK. So when the client wants to connect to the server, it sends the server a SYN. If it's open, then you get a SYN ACK back. If not, you get an RST ACK back. And so I'll do a demo of that today. And then also UDP. So UDP is what's called stateless, meaning that you don't need a handshake to connect to it. So if it's open, if the port's open, there's no reply. But if it's closed, you get an ICMP unreachable. So it makes it a little bit less reliable. It can be hard to figure out if ports are open or if they're just firewalled. We'll talk a lot about that in the port scanning chapter. So let's do a demo real quick here. So I have Wireshark running here with a filter on TCP port 1234. So let's do a good connection real quick here. 1234, and then netcat 127.0.0.1, and then at 1234. And then let's quits out on the server as well. When we transfer over here, we see this part right here. This is our three-way handshake. So we talked about this before in the last chapter, so I'm not really going to talk too much about it again. Just know the sequence. Client sends the server a SYN, server sends back a SYN ACK. ACK is sent by you to the server, acknowledging that to let it start sending whatever data. So the next one is UDP. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I forgot to do one thing. So I stopped the server. The server stopped right now. So let's actually try to connect to a port that's closed. So it said the connection's refused, and it got that pretty snappy, if you've noticed. That's because, if you look here, this is where it tried to connect to it. It tried to send it a SYN. It got the RST ACK back. And that lets it know that the port is currently closed. So that's it for TCP. UDP is a little bit weirder. So let me show you what a bad UDP connection looks like first. So we'll go over on the client here, and we'll try to initiate a TFTP connection to 127.0.0.1, and let's try to get any file. And we'll see it is just kind of hanging there. It's not doing anything. If we look at the packet side of what's going on, we'll see that it did a request, and it was never able to get there. So it said destination unreachable, the port's unreachable, and it just keeps doing this, trying to get to the open port. And it never will, obviously, because the port is closed, but one can dream. So if we come back here eventually, it should say transfer timed out. So after, let's see, how many attempts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attempts, it decided to give up. But it noticed that it took a long time because since UDP is stateless, it might eventually open up or something along those lines. So let's try connecting to a server. Let's just quit out of this right here, and let's try to connecting to a server that is actually open. So let's go. I'll start the Zine TD service, and let's try to connect to that again. Oh, actually, here, let me quit out real quick on this end and come into, oops, not that, I want that, and then just come into here, close out, and just do a new capture just so you can see it fresh without any beautiful distractions. Alright, so it's all clean again. So let's go over to here, jump into the TFTP. So if you notice, I just connected to the server, but nothing was shown here. That's because since UDP is stateless, there's no point in sending it a packet and to tell it that you're connecting to it. It's stateless. But you did notice that you know, when you actually requested a file, that's when the packet started getting sent. Once you need to actually do something, UDP starts to work. But that's the idea of UDP, is to kind of that less is more. Whereas TCP, it's all about connection security, that your connection won't drop out and that your connection is reliable, that sort of thing. So here we are in the server. Let me grab a text file that I made and put into here, and we'll see it instantly completes. If we look over on this side, we get we see there's a UDP request sent here. And oops, I didn't want to do that. There we go. If we actually quit out of TFTP, if you also notice, quitting doesn't send a packet either. Let's ls real quick and cat that test.txt right here, and we'll see it is a valid file. I just ls'd my root into it, so this is what you see in your root directory. And that's basically it. So the big thing to remember is TCP is stated. You have to have a handshake to talk to the port, whereas UDP is not. So you can do whatever you want with that. You can connect to you know, something, but you won't know if you're connecting to it. And we'll be talking a lot about this in port scanning, but I just want the association to kind of be there. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe, comment, help out, suggest new things. Everything's appreciated. So, you know, again, thank you for watching.